And despite his attendance being entirely unnecessary, publicity addict Prince Harry returned to the High Court today for day 2 of his preliminary hearing against associated newspapers. But any hopes of a royal reconciliation back on home soil have been dashed after the Duke of Sussex was snubbed by his brother William and King Charles, who told his treacherous son he was too busy to see him. Joining me now, the esteemed royal biographer Tom Bower. So, Tom, I have to say, because look, we've both been tough on King Charles at certain times, and you have described him as a bit weak. But actually, 2 decisions in recent weeks, booting Harry and Meghan out of Frogmore Cottage and saying, sorry, mate, I'm too busy to see you during your little publicity visit. Good decisions, right, by the monarch?
Yeah, good decisions, but he still hasn't decided what he's going to do at the coronation.
So you just think this is delay?
Well, I mean, it's nearly 5 weeks, just 5 weeks before. I mean, I had a piece in The Sun saying, you know, it's either a visionary king or a caretaker king. He really has to make up his mind, the image he wants to project. But Harry's position in England is really quite bizarre. I mean, here he comes. He's involved in 3 cases at the moment in London. First against the government on protection, then against Mirror Group newspapers on hacking, and then this case against the Daily Mail associated newspapers is really quite bizarre because he clearly was enticed to believe that he could fight this case because they had evidence that the Mail hadn't only hacked into messages, but had tapped phones, broken into homes, had actually done the most extraordinary criminal things. And Harry said at one stage in the last day that royals, there was a conspiracy that royals had to stay quiet. They weren't allowed to get involved. And he particularly shouldn't get involved with the hacking stories. Well, it seems that that rule was quite good, because the Mail having come out now with the Harry's lawyers' key evidence is a man called Gavin Burrows, a private investigator who allegedly admitted doing all these terrible things against Harry, Elton John, Liz Hurley, the lot of them. Well, the Mail now produced a statement by Burrows saying he did nothing, he's innocent, he's done that. So it seems that Harry has got himself involved in a bean feast, a rotten one. The very thing that royal family should not get involved in.
Once celebrated as the fun-loving royal with a rebellious charm, Prince Harry now finds himself branded with a far darker label. According to royal biographer Tom Bower, Harry isn't just controversial, he's become dangerous. Tom Bower, author of Revenge, didn't hold back in his latest interview. He slammed Harry for what he called a relentless obsession with litigation and self-justification. Every time Harry feels slighted by the press, every time there's a headline he doesn't like, it seems another lawsuit is filed. Bower argues that this behavior isn't just defensive, it's harmful. Harmful to the monarchy, harmful to Harry's own reputation, and harmful to the credibility of the institution he claims to want to protect. Let's break it down. Harry has sued tabloids, publishers, and even fought the government over security arrangements. Now yes, public figures deserve privacy and safety. But when lawsuits become your defining trait, you risk being remembered not as a leader, not as a humanitarian, but as a litigant.
And this was always the risk, wasn't it? It was always the risk when he was surrounded by trigger-happy lawyers and craven celebrities who are putting lots of ideas into his mind, and he thinks he's going to change the world. And in fact, he'll probably end up in all of these cases looking incredibly stupid, certainly in the case against the government as well.
Well, against the government too. I mean, because what
he's back now, so clearly he's not too worried.
Well, there is another case against the Mail, actually, where he claims that they misled the world about his case against the government on protection. What he's really saying is, how dare the Mail accuse him of spin?
Well, he doesn't believe in a free press, does he?
He believes the press should be obedient to him. And so what he's doing is, 4 cases, what he's doing is he's getting himself more and more in depth, in the deep, and mud.
But it sounds like you actually believe that the result of all of this could actually be Harry ending up in real trouble by taking on all of these legal.
Well, I think what it all shows is that King Charles needs to stand well away from his son, who is being so controversial and becoming so litigant-happy that he is dangerous. I think clearly against Mirror Group newspapers, they've admitted many times having hacked. So there's that against the government, against the Mail on the protection thing. I'm told his case is weak. But this latest case, for which he's come to Britain for, that is really messy. And the one thing a member of the royal family shouldn't do. But there he is in Montecito, gunning up. He says, I'm going to get them. And there's one lawyer who we can name called David Sherborne, who's a really gung-ho hater of the media, who worked for the Leveson inquiry.
Total loser, this guy.
And absolutely determined to destroy the free press.
Bauer's point is simple. When you use the courts as a weapon every time you feel slighted, it starts to look less like justice and more like vengeance. So why does Tom Bauer use such a strong word, dangerous? Because Harry is more than just a private citizen. He's a prince, a global figure, someone whose words and actions carry weight. When he positions himself as a perpetual victim, constantly fighting against the press and even his own family, it doesn't just damage his image, it damages the monarchy's. Bauer argues that Harry's lawsuits create precedents. That his constant attacks on British institutions, the press, and even the royal household fuel division and resentment. In Bauer's words, Harry is now less a symbol of change, and more a risk factor. And the public is noticing. Once adored, Harry's approval ratings have collapsed in both the UK and the US. What was once seen as bravery, speaking out about mental health, challenging royal protocol, is now being framed as selfishness and obsession.
And he always fails. He always fails. He was Johnny Depp's lawyer, wasn't he? He always fails, Sherborne. But he has surrounded himself by a bunch of people who effectively, let's just be honest about it, that they want to curtail the freedom of the press.
They want to control the press.
They want to control the press. They want newspapers to be under the thumb. It's actually disgusting. It's very sinister. It's very chilling.
Well, what they do is they employ these very high-paid PR people to make sure that only stories appear which glorify them. Anything which in any way criticises them.
Of course. Chelsea magazine shoots. But there's something very psychologically worrying about this, Tom, when you look at it, because having been caught up completely against my will in some cases like this myself in the past, I can tell you it is a deeply miserable, traumatic, upsetting experience, right? It's horrible. No one wants your life dominated by this. Harry is actually going out of his way, looking for his life to be dominated with these terrible legal cases. To me, that actually paints a picture of a man who's deeply unhappy, deeply unwell. Just go and live your life. If you're so happy over in California with your wife and kids, why on earth do you want to get tangled up in all of this nonsense?
Well, he thinks he's on a mission, doesn't he? He was in this Aspen committee of cleaning up the media, cleaning up the internet. He really does think he is the sort of the harbinger of this.
He's just revealed more details in his autobiography than any tabloid reporter has ever revealed, including about the private parts of his brother and the private conversations with his father at Prince Philip's funeral. I mean, the guy's deluded because he has invaded not just his own privacy, but the privacy of his family members, which they never asked for.
And his friends.
Yes.
And when they've complained, he has just shut them off. And that's what's so extraordinary. But, you know, he isn't intelligent enough to realise the contradictions and the hypocrisy. But he's going to get burnt. That's what's so interesting. He's on a mission now, and people on missions invariably get embarrassed and burnt. And these cases, really, one day they're going to come and kick him in the face.
People are starting to ask, is Harry fighting for justice, or just fighting? And worse, is he addicted to the fight itself? Tom Bauer's verdict is harsh but clear. Prince Harry's transformation from a beloved prince to a litigious celebrity has made him controversial, divisive, and yes, in Bauer's view, dangerous. Not dangerous in the traditional sense, but dangerous to the legacy of the monarchy, to his own reputation, and to the very causes he claims to champion. Harry once had the world's sympathy. But as Bauer warns, every lawsuit, every public outburst, every grievance aired risks pushing that sympathy further away, until all that's left is controversy. So what do you think? Is Harry standing up for justice? Or is Tom Bauer right? Has he crossed the line into something much more dangerous? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more unfiltered royal analysis.